Hello, hello. Getting your offer accepted is super exciting. But for many buyers, it's immediately followed by one thought. Okay, now what? Well, if you've ever wondered what actually happens between an accepted offer and getting the keys to a house, today's live is just for you. This is No BS Homebuyers Live. It's a series we're doing to get you to break down the home buying process, to get you go from thinking about buying to actually owning a home. And we're trying to do it in simple, no BS steps so that way you can understand with no previous knowledge. So, today we are going to be walking through the entire purchasing timeline, going from the accepted offer to the closing day signing at the table. Because what you will quickly learn when you are buying a house is getting under contract is not the finish line, it is actually just the start of the race. So, let's go through kind of the whole big picture so you understand what is going to be happening once you are under contract. All right. Now, I have already referenced a race a little bit, and I would like you to imagine buying a home almost like a relay race. And at different times during this race, different people are going to be taking the baton and running their part of the race so that way you can get to the finish line all together. So, let's talk about the different people involved that will be passing of the baton of the race. That would be one, you as the buyer. You're going to be searching for properties. Your realtor is kind of more like a coach in a race in reality because they get the baton a lot, helping you go from getting that offer sent and accepted and all of these things, but then also just mediating and making sure you're staying on track during the whole purchase process. But then the baton will go to the lender who needs to do all the underwriting and all those things to get you the actual loan. You've got the title company double checking that the property that you're purchasing is free and clear or has free and clear title. You've got the inspector who's checking out the house for you, and then they pass that baton right back to you as the buyer to make the decisions on those inspections. You've got the appraiser making sure that the bank is lending on a property that's worth it, and then an insurance agent, which kind of gets the baton during the process, but also after the process and actually gets you insurance on the house. So it's a weird baton race, but the process of buying a home is a bit of a race. And everyone has a job and everyone has their own deadlines, and it all happens typically within about 30 to 45 days. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes that you may not even have any idea is going on. So we're going to just kind of quick touch on some of these things and go over a little bit of the timeline just so you're better understanding when you are in that situation. And please note, I'm not going to give specific days on things because each contract is going to be different. Each state is different, and even cities within the states are different. Like where I'm from, Lincoln, we have a 14-day inspection period. Omaha has a 10-day inspection period, and that's very normal. So it really depends on your market. So specific date, timeline, deadlines are not really going to be referenced today. But that is what your realtor is there for, to help you make sure you're staying on track for that. But I will say in the first like 5 days or the first week of going under contract, a lot is happening. So when you put in an offer, you send that to the sellers and then they get to decide, yeah, I'm going to take your offer. No, I'm going to counter your offer, or they can just straight up not respond if it was an offensive offer. But once they accept the offer and everything is negotiated out and you guys are both on agreeing, that is considered day 0. So when we're thinking we're under contract, that's great. Your under contract day is day 0. But then after that, you're going to be doing a bunch of different things. So your earnest money is going to be due shortly after that. That can be, again, anything written into a contract, but I would guess like 24 to 48 hours is actually 48 to 72 is probably more common just in general, just to give you time to get to the bank to get a cashier's check and to drop it off, or your personal check, whatever, however you're going to be doing it, depending on how much your earnest money is. And then, so immediately once you're under contract, earnest money is going to be due. You're going to be working on getting your inspection scheduled because you want to make sure you're within your inspection time frame. And the sooner you can get it done, the longer time you have to get additional quotes if you need to. And just it's better to just get your inspections done sooner than later because you don't want to be running tight on those deadlines. And then you're going to be applying for your final loan application at the bank if you're getting a loan. That is also very important. Typically, there is a deadline on that as well. So you want to make sure you're doing it within a very reasonable time, and just make sure that you understand that in the contract. And then the title company is going to begin doing their work. They're starting to research the property to make sure that there are no other liens on the property or things that need to be cleared up before you close. So all of this is happening within that like first week of going under contract. And so you just really want to understand that this is going to be the really busy part, and then it's going to kind of slow down a little bit. And one thing to note is if the first week is going really well and things are happening boom, 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 that really sets a good tone for the rest of the transaction, because you are just taking care of things right away as they come. So just try to be very adamant and very engaged that first week, especially. Obviously, be engaged the whole time and respond to your realtor, but be on top of your stuff that first week for sure. And let's talk about the inspection period because that's typically what comes next. And that is where you're getting your home inspection. Once you review that home inspection, you may decide you need more inspections to look at a specific issue or get an additional opinion. So that's why, again, we want the inspection as early in the transaction as we can. And sometimes if it's a good inspector, they book out pretty fast. So you kind of have to work with what you have, or look at other companies. But during that inspection period, you get your inspection back. I love it when my buyers have a night to sleep on it. So that way they can really think about the things that are their big non-negotiable items. And so then you review the report back to your agent, kind of what is the most concerning to you. And then you guys can work together to draft up a request, and ask for those from the buyer or from the seller. And then the seller typically gets a little bit of time to rebuttal your request, and that allows them to also look for additional quotes, or just decide yes or no, we're not going to do those things. But all of this happens within a set timeline according to your contract. Again, here where I'm at, it's 14 days for us to get our requests, and then the sellers have an additional 4 days to get their request back. Again, each contract will be different, but just to give you kind of an idea, 7 to 10 business days is pretty common, 14 calendar days, just kind of depends. And let's quick go over business days versus calendar days. Business days are like Monday through Friday. Calendar days are, it starts on the 1st and ends on the 14th. That's a calendar day. So holidays don't matter. So just be aware of the difference between business days and calendar days. But we got to remember the inspection period is your opportunity to learn as much as you can about the home and to help you be prepared to become a homeowner. And once that inspection period is over, typically you are ordering the appraisal after that inspection period, unless you're on a tight timeline or you're trying to move up closing. Then they will order the appraisal sooner. But a lot of times banks will wait until after the inspection period to order the appraisal, so that way they don't have to charge you the appraisal fee, especially if you're going to back out during inspections because of a major issue. Again, it all depends on the timeline, the lender, and everything. But the lender will be in contact with you because I've never seen a case where they didn't make the buyer pay for the appraisal prior to ordering it. So just be aware you're going to be paying for that appraisal. Typically, I'm seeing $450 to $650 during the escrow period or under contract period. After the appraiser goes in, so they will order the appraisal, and typically those take about 10 days till they get them back. So the appraiser may go in on day 1 and then not get a response or a report until day 10. So just because they went into the house doesn't mean they're automatically going to have the appraisal in the inbox right away. And another thing to note with the appraisal, it is the bank owns the appraisal. They should be sharing it with you as the buyer, but they will not typically share it with your realtor. So please share it with your realtor because they get kind of left in the dark on this stuff sometimes. And if we have a low appraisal, we need to know because we have to take some different steps at that point. Um, and then also during this phase, underwriting for the bank, which is just a person double checking all of the paperwork, is reviewing all of the documents. And the bank may be asking for additional paperwork that maybe you didn't turn in the first time, or they need some supplemental information. And just because they're asking for additional paperwork does not mean something is wrong. The banks have certain restrictions and requirements that they have to fulfill, and they are human too, so they don't always have it all up front, or maybe something in your file prompts them to ask for something else. So just because they're asking doesn't mean you're not getting the loan. They are just needing some additional information. All right. And then after kind of the appraisal gets turned in, the title company is still checking for different ownership, looking for additional liens, and they are preparing the closing documents based off of the purchase contract they received. Um, they will adjust closing documents based off of whatever the inspection period brings, whatever the appraisal brings. They are pretty fluid up until about the last week before closing. And 3 days before closing, you should be receiving a closing disclosure from your bank. And honestly, the title company typically sends it then too. But the title company and the bank have to match all their numbers. So they match exactly before you can close. So they need to balance and make sure that they have the same fees and costs as what the bank is showing. And you should see all of this before closing day and 3 days before closing, because you are going to also be needing to get a check to bring money for your cash to close. And you just need to be informed of what it actually is costing. Um, and during this time, you also have some additional homework that you, as the buyer, have to do. This one I would recommend doing as soon as you can, and that would be securing homeowners insurance. The reason you want to do that as quick as you can is you want to find out if it's insurable at all in general. Like if you're buying a house that is in rough shape, you may have trouble getting insurance on it. So you want to know that during, quite frankly, your inspection period. So that way, if you had to back out for that, you have that opportunity. But secure it as upfront. That will help you understand your final payment better, because insurance is baked into your payment if you're escrowing, and it will just help allow you to shop around too. If you want to price compare and see what the best rate you can get is, do it sooner than later because you have more time. And then also during this time, this one is a big deal. Please avoid major financial changes or major job changes, because that absolutely affects your lending. I always politely tell my clients, please do not go out and buy a whole new furniture set to fill your new house until after you close, because that can seriously change your credit profile. And then that can kick you out of financing for the bank. And so now you have a house full of furniture, but no house to put it in. So just be very aware of your financial situation. And if you have something that comes up that's out of the norm and you're concerned about it, talk to your lender. Let them know what's going on. And they will tell you or guide you on what you should be doing and how you should maneuver the situation. And then additionally, just please stay in contact. Please don't ghost us. I know you've been talking to your realtor like daily for the last couple of weeks, or you've been seeing them almost every day, and then things kind of slow down. But that does not mean to go radio silent or ghost us. There's a lot going on behind the scenes, and we probably need your thoughts and decisions along the way. So please continue to be accessible for your realtor, your lender, and the title company, because they will all probably be reaching out to you. And things I would say, let's go into the do not do items. That would be, don't buy furniture, like I said. A lot of people get caught up on the washer and dryer because it's just like second nature. You're like, oh, I need a washer and dryer. Don't buy that till after. If you are if you have to buy it because there's such a good deal, have your family member or your friend buy it and pay them back after you close. Um, don't open additional or different lines of credit. Please don't appliances, or please don't quit your job. And if you are changing jobs, key in all of this, if you're changing jobs in the same field, it shouldn't be an issue. However, you want to confirm that with the lender who's lending the money. And then uh, don't retire either right before closing. Do anything after closing, and don't explain the problem. So just wait until after closing before you do anything out of the norm. And until the keys are in your hand, all your finances should just be boring, normal, like they have been. Let's talk about some common delays and why some of these are pretty normal. I wouldn't say delays are normal, but they happen and there's ways to deal with them. Let's say that. Not every transaction is going to close on the original date, and that's okay. It doesn't automatically mean something is wrong. And in your contract, there should be limitations as to how long you can delay the closing before the sellers can go back on the market. But a couple of the main ones that come up would be loan underwriting is requesting certain paperwork, and you don't get that paperwork to them in time or quick enough, so they have to delay. Sometimes there's like a waiting period on certain things. So you just want to make sure you're hitting and getting information to them as quickly as you can. It's completely normal. Just respond quickly and let the lender do their job. Appraisal delays can happen too if it's a really busy season. Summer and spring and fall do tend to be pretty busy. So if the appraisals are really backed up and can't get it in time, that may delay things. And then they may have to search for other appraisers too. So just be aware that does happen. Not very common. Hopefully you can build in enough of a closing timeline that it's not an issue. But probably the most common delay that have seen is title issues, whether that is an old lien that isn't cleared up, or there's like some clerical issue, like someone input something wrong, or someone's missing signatures, or especially like estates. Estates have all kinds of working parts in it. And if the attorney that's helping with the estate is not involved, there can be some serious delays there, because if you're missing signatures, there's some waiting periods involved and all kinds of different things. So that one is probably the most common reason things get delayed, is title issues. But most of the time they're fixable. They just tend to take a little bit more time. So let's see here. I would say that those are probably the most common delays. You might also see like some repairs not being able to be done in time, at which point you could escrow for them if you had to, potentially, if the bank will let you. And then, or take a credit instead, or sometimes insurance delays if someone's not getting it properly insured, or like getting quotes for insurance prior to closing, then that can delay it because the bank's not going to lend to you without insurance in place. But again, a lot of these things can be fixed by just being ahead of the game. But just because something's delayed doesn't mean it's a fail. But let's talk about the last step, which is like the final walkthrough and closing day. So the final walkthrough, you go through the property like a day or two before closing, just to make sure that everything that you wrote into the contract is still there. Make sure they didn't take the refrigerator when you wrote in the refrigerator. Make sure they didn't put a bunch of holes in the walls, and that everything is working. And then sometimes a lot of people will go do their final walkthrough and then go straight to the closing table. I prefer to do it a day or two before, in case there's things that need fixed. The lawn needs mowed, something needs removed, something like that. But then once you get to the signing table, you just need to bring your IDs, like a driver's license or a state ID. Please make sure they are not expired. If it's expired, it's not a valid ID. And then whatever funds you need to close. So you should have received 3 days before that amount that you need. Bring it in a certified check, like a cashier's check, and bring that to the closing table. If you're closing around a bank holiday, be very careful, because the banks will be closed on bank holidays and you cannot get a cashier's check. So just be extra prepared and thoughtful and look around on the calendar. But closing day isn't a surprise. It is a result of all of these weeks of preparation and background work happening. So enjoy your closing day. Do some wrist stretches, because you're going to sign a lot of paperwork, and enjoy being a new homeowner. But I just want to reiterate that buying a home isn't about having like the perfect transaction. Things do come up, things are happening behind the scenes, but it's about keeping the process moving and moving forward. And the more prepared you are by learning ahead of time and staying on top of things and communication, you will get there easy peasy in most cases. But um, now that you understand the timeline, this is great. This doesn't speed up anything for you, but it will make the whole process a lot easier because you're understanding. And if you're getting ready to write an offer with someone and you just need someone to help you with the whole process, let me know. I'd love to help if you're local here, but I'd also love to refer you out if you are somewhere else. So next week we are going to be talking about the actual finish line of the race, your final walkthrough, the closing day, and we're going to talk more about what to expect, what to bring, and what to look for during your final walkthrough. So thank you for joining me for the No BS Homebuyers live series, where we are breaking down the home buying process into simple, easy steps so that way you can go from thinking about buying to actually owning. And I will see you next week. Bye-bye.